door.
I got that in my back wall too. So they're pounding down here is what we're saying.
Okay. So there's a lot of construction activity and we have no idea what's going on behind Bill as far as noise goes, but like if we see somebody coming in, like we'll get worried. Otherwise, we'll just keep going with this thing. Welcome, Austin. We're back. We were with you in November at the Leadership Summit. In our DFU episode leading up to the Leadership Summit, we talked about you being there.
Yep.
And now here we are with you after the Leadership Summit months later. And I know you'll have lots to share with us, but tell everybody about you, who you are, and what you do.
Thank you all so much for having me. It was good seeing you in person in November, and it's good to reconnect. Let's see. I guess, I am a data person. That's how Robin and I got to know each other. Sort of our mutual love of teaching people how to use data tools. And we're both teachers and trainers at heart. And I think since then I've done a startup. It's my badge of honor, going through that. That startup is Conserve and it's doing well and I'm on the board. And since 2023, I've been very interested in AI, and I help run Birmingham AI here in Birmingham, which is it's a nonprofit. It's focused on teaching and helping people be aware of what's going on and get prepared. And then I also still do training. So I have a company called Caravan that does AI training now, which doesn't even feel like work. It feels like an enormous amount of fun. So I'm really curious to just catch up with everybody. Everyone's out in the world, talking about AI and sort of inevitably. And so I'm just curious as we go through the call today, like what people are hearing and, what's the vibe around town for AI and data.
I love it. Well, I'm Robin Hunt, everybody, and I'm still just trying to go through this whole AI journey. Right. I can't quite place myself where I'm at. There's the subject matter expertise and the artificial intelligence around that. Then there's the Robin Hunt, the person who has a job to do and operates around a lot of information running the company. So it's like I have two use cases constantly going. So I'm looking forward to talking to you today. And yeah, Bill, tell everybody about you.
Sure. So I am also a data person. I like that phrasing, and I'm more on the communication side of things, as many of you know, data storytelling and visualization. And like Robin, I'm a bit torn on AI in terms of, yes, I start looking at it as a professional, as a trainer, etc. But also, and I'm almost not doing any of it as a user, like really trying to sort of think about how it really applies to my life, especially where I am in my career and the kinds of things that I do. Like I'm writing content. I'm writing a new course for LinkedIn right now, and I'm not using AI at all. Like I'm just not. And like some people would say that's the strangest thing I've ever heard. Yeah. But for me, it's the right call for a variety of reasons, which maybe we'll talk about. But long story short, it's obviously a fascinating topic, and it's always fun to talk about.
Love that. Jenny?
I'm trying to imagine myself as a data person, like I'm a data person, but I'm also like, I'm kind of a meat person and, so it's kind of hard, but yeah.
DNA is data.
It is.
Lots of data.
All of that stuff. But yes, like my colleagues here, I'm a trainer. We work in data, and so I do use AI some for things that I formerly did, like I would say manually, although I hear manually all the time now, as if pushing a key on a keyboard is manual labor. Do you know what I mean? Like, right? The opposite of art of AI is not manual. Manual is when I'm outside with a shovel. Right?
Yes.
Right. So I think that there's a misunderstanding of what manual labor actually is that the AI story kind of lends credence to. Like we're blue collar here, right? Not so much of the time. But yeah, I have some cool things that I have done for example, taking, I had a course outline that was for a course I didn't create, somebody else created. We were having a conversation about how you take a course that's a 5-week, 2-hour-a-week course and you deliver it in a weekend. And they're like, well, we'll have to get a grant to rewrite this. And I'm like, I actually,
What?
yes,
Right.
they got a grant to write it the first time, right? And I'm like, really? And I said, no, we don't need that. And they're like, well, no, because we need the client to pay for it. And I said, just Power Up Word, dropped the PDF in and said, please reconfigure this. Oh, and I want X number of exercises. I want a break at the start of it.
Yeah, right.
Click. 30 seconds later, I said, so how much were you going to put in for that grant for? And they just looked, and I said, yeah, you're replaceable if that's what you're writing a grant for. Somebody will figure that out and they'll feel cheated.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
So there's
right.
things like that, pouring one container into 3 containers and wanting it to come out even, that I can sweat over for a long time, but I'd rather throw it together, right, using some help from AI, and then go back and take a look and say,
Right.
use the time I would have spent reconfiguring to instead maybe rethinking some things or reordering some things, right? But yes,
Or just not,
And by the way,
typing it in, like just literally type. Like I've typed so many classroom frameworks for 25 years. We're starting here. We're doing this. We're covering this. We got this.
yep.
Like, I mean, I'm never doing that manually ever again. Like, and
Yeah.
if that's my use case for life, it saved me a ton of time. I don't care. That's fine. I can live with
and by
that.
the way, I think it's also worth acknowledging that there's not a human on earth that's not using AI right now, right? Every time you
Right.
Google, you're getting AI results and you're
Exactly.
considering, am I looking at those or am I looking at the other ones? When I
Yeah.
do my videos for LinkedIn, I use this app called Captions, and it captions the videos, and like that, of course, that's AI, and like Google Translate. So like, yeah, I'm constantly using AI. I'm just not
Mhm.
as actively going into an AI only tool as much as some
Oh, I
people are.
know. That's a
So
use. I love that. That's like a use case, right? It's like,
Uh,
yes, I mean, to me, that's what it's about. Like, okay, captioning stinks. Now it doesn't.
yeah, it's
Okay.
better.
impossible.
It's better.
I pitched a
And
course yesterday. I had a client who said we needed to be delivered in German. I was like, I can find a German speaking person, or by the way, of course, we could do live captioning in Zoom. Like, you tell me. But
yeah,
that's an option right now. It's
yes.
crazy.
Well, I've got a human in the loop. So, like, we leverage it to get the captioning done. And I've got a human that then goes and confirms that, hey, because when I say certain words, my Southern comes out and it doesn't always pick it up just right. So I have
Bill's got
them
a
go
human
through
in-
and quality control it because I'm like, okay, the expectation on my side is that I want a quality outcome. And if I can leverage the time to get the caption, then I can give someone an opportunity to then go review the caption and make sure. And so I'm trying to figure out human in the loop in those little scenarios. But then there's a whole side of the world that I figure is trying to figure out how to eliminate all human from the loop to do the whole video process encapsulated. And that's fine too. Like I'm okay with that too. It may be not for me, but I don't.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I'm just in this massive like, where are we at? I would like to say it's the AI apocalypse. That's it. So in an apocalypse, everybody has a role, right? Like if you're out there, everybody has a role to play. I got that from The Walking Dead. Pretty sure Carol said that at some point. It was either Carol or Daryl, and they were talking to each other. And I thought, wow, that's really going to stick with me. So here we are, we're in the AI apocalypse, and I want to know, like, where do we think our role is to play in this world? Anybody want to jump in and go first?
So the AI apocalypse is like we don't have jobs anymore because all these AIs are doing our work for us. Is that what we're talking about?
I mean,
there's a
guess
couple
we're like,
versions of
okay,
this, right? I
there's
mean,
just like, let's define what an AI apocalypse means for the context of this. Yeah, there's a ton of things.
yeah, because I mean, there, you could see how that world could be, not so bad if we
Right.
could figure out how to find meaningful things to do, and like, it could be a world of abundance, but it would be very disorienting for people because, a lot of our identities shaped around work and things like that. I mean, there's the AI apocalypse where something really bad happens. And
Cylons. There's
yeah,
the-
right. Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's
One
right.
has Cylons. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
For
right.
instance.
And yeah. So the
For
first one is, the first one's not so bad. The Cylon, all that was good drama, As long as we
Yeah.
can build a spaceship that's easy to maintain and, keep jumping, we'd be good. So
I don't know. I just feel this is just such a struggle because I think, okay, the word you use that I most relate with right now, if I'm being real, is disorienting.
mm,
I think the meat of my AI apocalypse thought is the disorienting part. So maybe this is the beginning of the apocalypse, and we haven't quite accepted it's coming, and we're trying to sort ourselves out. So I don't know, but isn't it also possible to believe that because we have this technology, that we're going to have massive breakthroughs we can't even predict for human things? Like, curing
see-
cancer or figuring
see.
out how to solve world hunger without killing people with the bad food that's produced to solve world hunger. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Maybe I'm nuts.
I see Bill trying to lean in. Have you got something there?
Well, I was going to say, yeah, I mean, I think what Robin just said is true. Yeah, maybe we will cure cancer, and these kinds of things definitely could happen, which means more people living longer. And my difficulty envisioning the abundance scenario with the AI apocalypse, or whatever we want to call it, maybe a more positive word, is that worker productivity has gone up and up and up and up and up and up. And yet people couldn't disagree more about not giving people universal basic income and all those kinds of things. So this
Yeah.
dream that AI is going to do all the work and we're just going to sit around drinking pina coladas, that requires human nature to change and humans to
Mhm.
agree. Yes, we all have a right to just write poetry all day. And I just don't see people actually doing that now. So that's my skepticism about humanity, not so much the technology. I think the technology could give us that abundance, but will we take it? So I tend towards defining the apocalypse as more of that apocalyptic scenario. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen necessarily either.
Yeah, right.
But, that just seems more likely given how humans tend to behave towards each other. Boy, that's sad. Sorry, folks.
Yeah, but I mean, if you pulled a farmer, out of a field from like 1200 years ago, I think they would think that we sat around and wrote poetry all day.
Right.
I mean,
Yes.
I was over the holiday break, my brother wanted to watch Revenant. I don't know if you've seen this.
Oh,
It's like
yes.
Leonardo
Yeah.
DiCaprio, and he's,
Yeah.
And it was very cold where we were. And so, but after watching that, I was like, no one's going to complain about the cold. And if you haven't seen this movie, it's him, trying to survive, in the wilderness during the winter and
Yes.
like the 19th century. And it's harrowing, it's like every day he almost dies for like months. Okay?
Yes.
And so after watching that, I was like, life's pretty good right now. That was like a hard time.
Yeah.
And so I think I don't know. I do try to contextualize our current moment, and probably the best analogy we have is thinking about the electrification of things, 100
Mhm.
years ago is like a technological revolution.
Yes.
And I think about that a lot because it's like we had to build a lot of power plants, and it was all like nasty coal.
And hydro.
Right. And like we weren't as aware as a society of like environmental issues and all that, but we did it. And I just think like, what if that generation had decided we weren't going to turn on the lights?
Oh, that's deep, brother.
And I know it's different, right? And it's like, but it is
Yes.
analogous in some ways where it's like we decided to turn on the lights, and like you look at the 100 years that followed from that, and it wasn't all pretty, but like we did make a great deal of progress in a lot of domains. So that's sort of what's been top of mind for me recently.
Yeah,
I
think it's a fair
love
point.
that. I love that.
Yeah.
So I think there's a piece where we've decided to turn on the lights, but not for everybody.
Okay.
That to me is the issue. I mean, the Tennessee Valley Authority, right?
Mhm.
The decision that we were going to make sure that folks in Appalachia had power, right?
Mhm.
Even that it was going to be an incredibly expensive project, and it would only happen if if federal government did that, right? We're in the opposite place right now. This is back to what Bill said a few minutes ago, is the decision that has increasingly been made in the United States of America, not necessarily even in Europe, right? But the decision that has been made here is that worker productivity will actually go to allow companies to buy back their stock to keep their prices artificially high and to pad the bottom line of billionaires. I mean, that's like, if anybody wants me to do another piece of that, but that's exactly the choice that was made, right? From Reagan until now. And so we're turning the lights on, but we don't care if some people pay an exorbitant amount for the lights, if a few people can get them for free and can benefit from everybody else getting them. So that's the piece. I think you're right, Austin, that there's this technological advance, and we say it would be nice if everybody could participate in this, but we do have to do something, and it could be a change in human hearts at one level. I think it's a change in government and in policy, because we could certainly have made different choices because other countries like us did make those different choices. 32-hour work week in France. That's because they chose something different than we chose. And they're writing poetry 8 more hours a week than we are because they made a different choice than we made. So to me, there's a whole piece of governance around this that becomes critically important all across AI, right?
Yeah.
How it gets used. Can it improve people's lives? Absolutely. Would I love to write poetry all the time? I don't know if I'd love to write poetry, but I'd love to do something, right? But that piece of the power, this is just super quick story because I've talked too much already, but I'm in Mexico right now, and I took a trip out to the jungle with my cousin 3 days ago because we're
Okay.
looking at some land in the jungle. I don't know why, except there's parrots flying overhead, so I'm interested. You got parrots and monkeys, I'm all in, right? But we're driving, and he's saying, like, this town here, Cristo Rey, had no electrical power aside from solar and somebody who had a generator, and they ran wires to other people's houses 5 years ago. And then
Wow.
3 years ago, they got power. And then we go to the
Wow.
next town. They don't yet have power, but they're getting it next. But sort of watching this moving, right, town by town down the road. And we're looking at buying where there is no power. But this is so interesting to me. There's no electrical power unless you get a generator or you put in solar. There's no water, but the clean water's 18 foot down. So you just take a pipe and thump, right? But we do have fiber optic cable there.
Wow. Priorities.
Go figure.
Yeah. How about that? Well, this is where I struggle because the dreamer in me dreams of what this technological advance will do. The realist in me says there's some serious implications. You talk about data centers, power, infrastructure, all these things that I think they're going to happen. Like, they're going to happen. They've been building data centers already. Like, we're trying to get nuclear plants. Like, they're going to try to figure out how to empower. And I love my children because they give me a different perspective on this. They're like, yeah, but we don't need all this power so that people can just generate AI dumb videos all day, Mom. So when I come home and I talk about, wow, artificial intelligence can really do this, and wow, like, this can have this impact, they're like, they hit me with the not workforce perspective, the worldwide, like, what's happening in the world perspective. And it just immediately takes me to, I'm now so conflicted. Stay in conflict. But then I want to use it to make my life better. And I'm not going to not use it when I can see that it does that. But I'm not as all in as Austin is, I don't think. I feel like Austin is totally all in on some of the things that I'm leery to go to. Like, people leverage artificial intelligence tools. I'm sure this is happening in startup land for sure, and other business models where, you're fully integrated with your email. It's reading stuff. It's doing task management. And I'm not really ready to relinquish control of my email personally yet to that, because I'm just not ready. But then the other part of me is concerned about, I have a lot of business communication with enterprise. I'm not really sure I can. Like, this is not my personal email. This is my work email, right? So I'm just curious, like, are you dealing with things like that when you're in Birmingham AI and you're meeting with people through Caravan? Like, what are people saying about their emails and enterprise?
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know how all in I necessarily am
Okay.
on one side. I mean, when I'm on stage at Birmingham AI, we kind of have a thing we say, I don't know, over and over again. It's like we're not an AI hype organization.
Yeah.
We're generally optimistic about the role of technology in our lives. We think a lot of good things are going to happen. We think a lot of tough things are going to happen. And we want to build a space where the community can come together and work through that stuff together. And on an individual level, we want people to feel like this is happening for you, not to you. And so it's a tech organization, but it's also community organizing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we sort of tell people sometimes very directly, like, you shouldn't expect that your government's going to have a solution for you, or your employer, which is kind of tough to hear a little bit, but there is something in this moment where it's kind of like, and we don't want you to just listen to us. We want you to come here and like hear what we're saying, but you have to make up your own mind. And that there is some self-reliance here where you can't put your head in the sand right now.
Yes.
Or you can't, it's probably not a good idea to be wait and see right now. You have to engage with it in some way. And so that's kind of the Birmingham AI frame,
Right.
Now, if you like go on my personal life and like watch me work, it's like there's a lot of AI happening. And I'll tell you a story which I think captures this emotion very well. In December, I have been using Claude Code, and it has access to lots of systems. Okay. And I was reading an email that someone had responded to me. And I was reading their email and I thought, I don't remember sending this email to this person. Okay. And I read it and I was like, yeah, I didn't send this. And so I went back and like Claude Code had sent this email.
Oh.
Yikes.
Right. Not like automatically. I was like, it was
No.
doing something, and I'm sure I just didn't see it happen. Right. It didn't just go off and do it. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then I read the email and I was like, yeah, that's exactly what I would have sent. So like, it was like kind of a freak out thing. But then I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that was actually great. And so it's like that. And you say you would never give your inbox over to people, but people have personal assistants manage their inbox all over the place every single day.
Yes.
Yeah. And so
me too.
right. So there is some, but those people have guardrails, right? They have
Right.
Their desire to get a paycheck, not go to prison, their reputation.
Right.
So they're like constrained.
Critical thinking.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
There you
Right.
go. Human in the loop. Human in the
So,
loop.
but we can delegate in that way. It's just we're delegating to this thing that doesn't really have those guardrails, and we don't really understand how it works. So that freaked me out, but it was also kind of magical at the same time. So that's like the bundle of conflicting emotions that we're dealing with.
Yes.
So that's just a little anecdote. And I think everyone will have a story like that over the next couple of years.
Yeah.
Where you're trying to navigate that boundary.
Can I ask you a question? So, the fact that this happened sort of, by accident, unintentionally, it means that either Claude sent it from itself on your behalf, or it sent it from your account because you did hook it up so that your account was tied to Claude. Like,
yep.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that and how you're using AI in this more expansive way with Claude and other platforms? I want to know sort of like what someone who's maybe not all in, but who's using it a lot. Like, tell me the dozen ways you're using AI.
Yeah, totally.
That's a great
So
question.
let's take Birmingham AI, for example. We have 10 events every month. It's all run by volunteers. And so, I created a document, and here's my framework for how to handle this. What questions should AI be able to answer for me? What actions should AI be able to complete for me? And this is something you can just write it down, right? Here's a list of 30 things. Like if I'm like, hey, do we have enough volunteers for next Wednesday? It should be able to answer that for me. Hey, what are all the events that Bill has volunteered at? right? Are there any volunteers that have done at least 10 events? Right. So I just made a big list. What should it be able to do? Well, if someone expresses interest in volunteering, it should be able to reach out to them and help them find an event, right? These kind of things. So you just make this document, all right? And then you just take it to Claude Code and you say, let's work through this. I want you to be able to answer all these questions and do all these things. Help me build it. It's like, okay, all right, well, we're gonna need access to your inbox. Okay, great, let's do that, right? We're gonna need to build out the, so you just sort of tell it what you want, and then you just step through and you build it together. And so, yeah, that particular tool it can read my inbox, it can send emails, it can see my calendar, it can look in our CRM system, it can look at our Eventbrite and see our events. So, and that's one thing, but what that lets me do is, work with 60 to 100 volunteers every month in a way that doesn't really take much time. And it's completely transparent to me. I mean, I can see the emails that are sent and all this.
And you've sandboxed it to your Birmingham AI account. It's not your personal email over here or your enterprise client email over there. That's how you're managing that?
It has read access to my personal inbox because people send me this stuff from all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to volunteer. So it comes in a lot, but yeah, and what I've done that I'm setting up this week is it's going to have its own inbox now. This is going to be Marvin at Birmingham AI.
Not good. I like it.
Not going to be me. Everyone's going to know this is an AI. It's going to be.
Yeah.
Because that felt weird to me when I was doing this, where it's sending stuff on my behalf, but it's not really.
Yeah.
I think maybe that's my problem.
Yeah. And so I've decided that we're going to sort of carve it off, and it's going to be clear when people are talking to that they are not talking to me. And I think that's just something I discovered along the way that made me feel a lot better.
Yeah, that's good. And we do that today with other tools, right? Like the first time I learned that I could put instructions in Copilot and see that it did things, I was like, okay, now I need to learn how to write all the instructions.
I have a prediction. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. You go ahead.
I love
so. You know how Claude is named Claude, right? And Siri is Siri, and whatever. I predict that not too far in the future, because we're all going to be creating these AI agents, and all the names are going to get taken up. And was it Marvin was the AI person? Or was that actual human at Birmingham AI? People are going to start inventing names for their AI agents, kind of like pharmaceuticals or all these weird names. That's my prediction.
Okay.
Unique names, unique weird names.
Well, Don Monastery at General Informatics has one that he developed for another company called Captain Bob. And he talks about Captain Bob on my channel. That was a very interesting. We have Dottie Cross. So when you hear from Dottie, you're hearing from artificial intelligence, because I thought this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. Like, I can give this thing simple instructions for things that are not brain work, right?
Yeah.
Like, this hits this list, this email needs to get, we could automate that before. So now it's like, instead of writing some kind of script to do that, I can just write that instruction in, and then it takes that instruction and does the rest. Like, to me, it's like a no-brainer. But again, then I'm hit with, I'm not in one tool. Yeah, where is the line? And then my kids are like, you're going to kill the environment, Mom, with your AI. Like, that's what like, we can't let the world collapse because of AI. And I'm like, I got to teach the workforce how to use AI. The whole workforce is about to shift and change, and the way that we do things is different. Oh, Jenny, you're muted.
As you're doing that, I need to teach the world this. I had that old Coca-Cola commercial playing in the back of my head. I'd like to teach the world to come. I mean, it's like I'm just skipping right along. Right there. You have hopes and desires. That's good.
Yes. So I think the ability to teach people how to write basic instructions and automate processes that they need to be doing right now but haven't automated yet is a super low hanging fruit, right? There's just tons of little things around us. But then when people say, hey, like, can you come in and teach about artificial intelligence? It's like, which part do you want me to teach? Right? What thing do you want me to show? Because the way we use it independently as humans is like going to be based on what this human is required to do. So it's like, what do you require that human to do inside their seat at work? Because then you're going to want to cater your training around them understanding how to do those types of things. But then again, the other side is we don't need to even bother with that. Like, we'll just write the instructions. Why tell the instructions to the human when I can tell the instructions to the machine? And then all of a sudden I go into crisis again. You see what I'm saying? Because again, like,
I
people have to have
do.
40-hour work weeks, right? So it's like you
Well,
want to
listen,
give them
yeah.
the ability to work 40 hours and do something meaningful.
I
And for
am
some
like,
people, that may be sending emails, responding to something that comes in on a website every day. It may sound archaic and dumb to us as a technical person, but for somebody, that's really a good job and they love it. So I'm back to the struggle bus. I don't know. I want you to have all the answers, Austin.
well, I can tell you what I've experienced, you know,
Okay.
and I think this is the most valuable thing is just to be engaged with people that are trying things because you don't know where that boundary is. You don't know what's possible. And so you have to go try things. You can't try everything, but you can be around people, you know. So imagine being able to clone yourself and go into 30 businesses and then come back every month and talk about it, right? So if you have a group of people that you can, they've tried things you haven't, you've tried, and to me, that's like just the most valuable kind of space to be in right now.
Mhm.
And like, because you can't just go read a book about this stuff. You can't, I mean, you can't just go learn in traditional ways right now because you're just on
No.
the edge, you know?
Right.
And I'll tell you in my classes what I'm seeing, and I'd say this is a surprise. Like I didn't really know this was going to happen. Okay. But when we put a dozen people in a room, put their hands on the keyboard and teach them Claude code, the main emotion they have for the next 30 days is joy. I don't say that lightly, but it's like they have this wild sense of empowerment,
Yes.
right? It's like, oh, and you don't really get quite, you don't get this in like a chat, just a chat experience. So if you've been
Right.
using, pick any of them, right? But if you've just been in that chat box going back and forth, it's like I talk, you talk, I talk, you talk, and it's cool. Robert, who works with me, calls it the magic mirror from Snow White, like that.
Mhm.
And it's like
Mhm.
this thing over here is like the genie from Aladdin. And I'm like, okay, good. That's a good analogy. And when people get that lamp and they, right, it's like it's kind of wild to see. These are completely non-technical people. And I'd say about half the people that go through it are like now trying to commercialize some software that they want to
Yeah.
build.
Right.
And 6 weeks ago they had never touched a line of code. And so it's just that's interesting to see. And
Yeah.
these people are not worried about their jobs. They are, I think we rightly have this sense that if we want to be more productive, we have to suffer more.
Hmm.
It's a
Do you know what I'm saying?
terrible thought. Yeah.
It's
Yes.
like I need to get more
Yeah.
done. So that means I have to sacrifice
Yes.
something. I
Yeah.
can't spend as much
Yeah.
time with my family, or I'm
Yeah.
not going to sleep as much, or something has to give.
Yeah.
Right. And what you see here is that gets broken. Right. It's like I can be 4 or 5 times more productive, work the same amount, and enjoy what I'm doing a lot more. And I just didn't expect that at all. And that's what we're seeing. And it's kind of an interesting little glimpse into the future of work for some knowledge workers who can get their hands around that and have the opportunity to use those tools and try it on and on. But
Yeah. Yeah.
it's been an interesting thing to watch.
It's amazing. You call it joy. I'm sure they are experiencing some form of joy, but I also realize they're gaining access.
Mhm.
Access to do things that they've never had access to do because they required someone who had that skill set to be ready to do it, available to do it, paid to do it, want to do it, told to do it. And the minute you open their eyes, that barrier is gone immediately. Like to
Yeah.
me, it's like joy and exhilaration. It's exhilarating. Like, wow. And it does have empowerment. I think it has empowerment for a lot more people than we normally empower to, because they have a smaller gap to close now before they have access to that genie in the bottle. What were
Yeah.
you going to say, Jenny? What do you
I was
think?
going to say Bill wants to say something.
No. Bill, just jump in here, Bill.
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah. So here's the question I have. A friend of mine just wrote an article on Forbes, Brent Dykes, and he made a really interesting point, and I think it seems valid to me. And I'd love to hear your take on it, Austin, and anybody else. Basic idea is this. Okay, so I'm not a non-technical person. I can go to Cloud Code and I can make something, and it's going to pretty much work. But Austin, you just said some of these people are now going to go commercialize what they've created there. And I guess the question is this: the way Brent talked about it, he said, anybody now can walk up to AI and get to 60% in minutes.
Mhm.
But to bring it from 60% to 100%, meaning so that it's truly been tested and it actually really does what it's supposed to do, and the quality is there, and it's it's designed beautifully. People want to use this thing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like, to really bring it to that full delivery, you need some expertise. It's going to be very hard for the beginner to get it to 100%. Does this mean it's bad? Of course not. It's awesome that those beginners get some empowerment and to feel like they're creating something. And for tools they're going to use themselves, where the quality doesn't have to be as high, et cetera. Awesome. 60% is probably good enough. But to go to commercialize something, you probably need a level of expertise. And I guess the question is, I almost kind of just answered it, right? Like, a lot of the things you do, 60% is good enough, and that's awesome, and that is empowering. But how many of those people imagine they're building the next Facebook and they're going to become a billionaire in 10 years? But they'll never get there, but they just don't know it yet because they lack that next level of expertise to really get to 100%. Does that make sense? And does it even matter? Like, is this like sort
Oh,
of
I
a
know it
pointless
matters.
exercise?
I mean, I
It
think
certainly
it matters.
matters. It certainly
Mhm.
matters. I have seen people, these aren't the people in my class, but I have seen people who have built something and they're like, look at this, is amazing. I'm like, this is not, or they'll say, is this amazing? And I'll say, have you tried to sell it to somebody? And they'll say, I haven't. And I'll say, well, that's when you'll find out,
When you'll know.
Yeah.
So it's worth saying that 18 months ago, this thing I'm describing was not possible,
Yeah.
right? If you were non-technical and you got on these tools, it was rabbit holes and dead ends, and you couldn't get 60 or 80% of the way there. You could get 2% of the way there.
Mhm.
And so and the thing I worry about in what you said, which I agree with, is people are getting excited about this skill at the same time it's being completely commoditized.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're a little early, so it's like cool, but now literally everyone. But I do think it'll be able to get you pretty dang close to 100% in 6 to 12 months.
Mhm.
But not to 100%, right? Because it's like, and to be fair, the people who are really doing this have spent lots of time over the last 6 weeks discovering what it means to be a product manager.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's the key.
They're like,
Yeah.
it's a coding problem. It's like, not anymore, but
Right.
you
Yeah.
know.
Now you're gonna say all your
And they're like, what's a product manager? And I'm like, okay, cool. That's your next frontier
Yeah.
of learning.
And that's the human in the loop. That's a key skill.
Right. And
Yes.
so that's been fun to watch. And they're like learning all sorts of things. They're like, I'm having this problem where my code is messing. And I'm like, oh, that's called technical debt. And they're like, oh, I've never heard of that. Right. And so
Yes.
it's been fun to
Yep.
work with these people as they learn all of the constraints and interesting problems that have nothing to do with like typing a single line of code or
Yeah.
doing that. So you're right.
Yeah.
There's still lots of bottlenecks.
I would say, I'll go ahead, Jenny. I've got some thought on if it
It
matters.
feels like if I can get something well, first, there's a couple things. One is if I can create something that solves 80% of a problem, that might be good enough. When I was working with speech applications, if their speech application could handle 80% of the incoming phone calls, that was success.
Yeah.
Right. The other 20% are people who really need more help. And so to create something deeper for them isn't necessarily necessary. But the other thing is, I always assume if I can get to 65 or 70%, I can hire the rest of it.
Yeah.
Right. Because at that point,
Nailed it.
I'm seeing a real place for expertise from folks who have been IT project managers, who have great depth and security, who do know how to scale and test products. There's a whole new role for Q&A folks, right? To be able to
Yeah.
come in on projects and to be able to train people how to do that testing, but also who's their own QA department? Nobody who thinks about it very much, right? Because robust testing should be somebody other than the person doing the development. So I think there are roles in there. And if you get to 60 or 70%, we might have then the need for some expertise. I don't think everybody needs to be able to ultimately be an enterprise scale project manager,
Right. Right.
right? Or product, evangelist even, right? You just have to get it close enough with the expertise that you bring to that. As long, that's the other thing I'd say is I see people saying there should be an app for this thing I've done twice. And it's like, if you've only ever done it twice and there's people who've done it 500 times, they should be doing the app, not you.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
There's this imagining of all of these apps that you could create, but you don't know enough about any or many of them to create them. But for folks who are up to here, right, in the dull, repetitive work that they do every single day, and it's like, it would be joy for a lot of folks that I've supported in the past to know that they could spend some amount of time and never have to do their 10 most hated tasks ever again.
For that.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
True.
For
That's
that.
what joy is, right? Is I don't have to do this stupid thing that I used to have to do over and over again. That's highly error prone, because isn't copy and paste the essence of that, or worse yet, retyping?
Yeah.
Things like that, or the same email over and over and over again, but with a little bit of customization that's more than you can do with, a mail merge, those kinds of things. There are people who deserve to be set free. I just hope, Austin, that, you can set them free faster than their CEO can lay them off. That's the race right now, I think.
It's going to be interesting, right? Because I think I'm more worried about them leaving, honestly. So, like the people I'm seeing who are 5 to 10 times more productive than they were, and like, yeah, I'm like a 9 out of 10 data analyst, but now I'm also a 4 out of 10 lawyer, marketer, accountant,
right?
Right? Because I'm not 10 out of 10. I'm not going to pretend that I am, but I'm like a 6 out of 10 software developer. And when I get to 7, I can go find the software developer and bring them in.
Yep.
Like, it's not like their companies are like, you talk about labor productivity. It's not like their companies are like, oh yeah, we're going to triple the amount of money we're paying you. Like that's not going to, but I will say, if employers realize, and they will, I think this year, realize there's this new type of worker, they will be trying to hire as many of these people as they can find.
Oh, I love the new type of worker. Let's go.
Right. I mean, if I'm paying someone $150,000 who's like an advanced knowledge worker, and all of a sudden they are much, much more productive, I'm not firing those people.
No.
Right. I'm going to be trying to hire as many of them as I can get my hands on. So I think that's the other side of it. That is not going to be evenly shared.
No.
Right. I mean, if you are someone who is not making that leap for whatever reason, it's going to start to.
Yeah, you need to make it.
Right. Like, this is not going to be shared prosperity. I'm not saying it is, but there is, for people, and this is why I think awareness is important, for people that are paying attention and feel some agency in this. It's like, can you go, it's, the world's a tough place. I mean, can you see what's about to happen and try to be a participant in it and not just a passenger?
Yeah.
And, so we're trying to do as much as we can do to make sure people don't say, oh, I'm surprised that this is happening. Right. And help them like see ahead a little bit. Right. And try to be a part of it. Not everyone's going to hear that. And those are the tough things where we need to build a space where people can not feel angry about what's happening. That's perfectly valid, right? But can also find a place where it's like, what are we going to do about this?
Yeah. Let me tell you what Robin Hunt's going to do about this. Let me tell you what Robin Hunt's going to do about this with Daniel Bishop and Think Data.
What you going to do?
And I'm going to have Jenny Vinecourter, Bill Shander, and several others joining me. We're going to be teaching data boot camps, and we're going to be creating that worker you just described.
Yeah.
Coming out with the fundamentals of the data that they need and the artificial intelligence understanding they need to continue to explore. And we know there is a certain point that we need to reach with a person so that they can go direct their route out. And so we have funding and scholarships, and we're going to make a go of it. And we're going to train as many of that modern worker as we can, because we have a huge need in our workforce. And I do appreciate the 100K plus talent yeah, you better hold on to them tight. Okay. And you better not care that they gained their time. They're going to leap quicker than you can think. But that 35, 45, 55K talent, there's a gold mine in there of people that can change the world everywhere around them, and they need to be unlocked. And so that's our answer to that, is to unlock them through boot camps. So I'm excited to be able to do that,
You said something
Is
earlier
that
about
your
the
role?
gap. You know, that's your role in the apocalypse.
to fill the gap.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
said that gap is shorter than it's ever been.
Yeah.
And that feels right to me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, because I mean, these tools, you can literally show up these tools and be like, help me.
Yeah.
Right. It's not
Yeah.
like, remember, you know, you'd like get your Microsoft software in the mail and then have like a stack of books this big that you'd have to read. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You couldn't
exactly.
you couldn't just get the CD out and be like, help me make this work.
CD out.
You know?
We get my floppy disk,
You know,
and
or
I was
install
gonna
disc
say,
or
I remember
whatever,
the
you know,
floppies.
yeah, disc, yeah, all rubber banded
I
up.
have like 42
like-
floppies.
I did that exactly.
And like, you just couldn't, it just wasn't interactive like that. And this stuff, you know, people are like, how do I get started? It's like, I don't know, you open it up and say, how do I get started?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, you
And
can
that's
ask
like
it,
never,
yeah.
we've never had anything like that. And so, but again, people have to know they can approach it that way.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
we
not
did
obvious.
have Clippy. I mean, to be fair, we did have.
We
That's
did have
right.
Clippy.
That is right. So, Robin,
was-
it sounds like
Clippy
you
was
just
just way
described
before its
your
time.
role. Right.
Yeah.
That's your role in the apocalypse, Robin.
Yeah, I think
Is-
my role is to assemble and get the right expertise into the conversation with the people that need to hear it. Like I believe that as subject matter experts, we have to come into these rooms and bring up this workforce. I don't see why we wouldn't do it. This is what we do for a living. We enjoy it. And I just don't think I don't have to train them to be the tip of the spear. And now I really don't have to train them much past a certain point we were already going, because that fundamental skill and data sets and the technology that we have today, I mean, you're talking explosive insights and not hard to get there. I think we'll do a lot of that with boot camps.
Yeah. So, Austin, what about you? What's your role in the apocalypse? Because we never finished answering that question.
The one without Cylons.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
I would
Positive abundance one.
I took a break from Claude Code. I took a break from AI, all that, like over the holiday break. And it was good. And when I came back, I found myself wanting to find a good balance. And so I'm like spending more time, I like meditate in the morning. I spend more time. I like go to the gym every day. I like go to the sauna and the cold plunge. I like do all these things that, you know, sort of, I think people call this touching grass, you know, like just
Yeah. Yes.
like being out in the world and just sort of being present. And I think we're going to need a lot of that energy over the next couple of years. It's just helping people just be present and just feel the feelings and find meaning in their lives, away from the computer.
I like that a lot.
And I think that's where, you know, we get everyone using Claude Code and then we start selling week-long retreats. You know, it's so that's going to be
That's
the
what I
next
said,
product
a
is go out in the
retreat.
woods
Good
for a
idea.
week and
Yeah, the
do
retreat
nothing.
vibe is definitely strong here.
So
In your role in the apocalypse.
I don't know. I mean, that's sort of how I know it sounds very counterintuitive, like, but I, as someone who spends so much time like with these tools, but I feel like that's, you know, what's kind of left at the end of it.
Yeah.
Makes
And a
sense.
lot of very human things are left at the end of it, even when you strip away a lot of the things we spend our time on now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't, you know, and so
Okay, so he's running
Cool.
the retreat at the apocalypse camp.
Yeah.
That's what I
Sounds
heard.
great.
That's
Yeah.
what I've heard. I'm
y'all are
seeing all
y'all are
white.
all invited. I'd love to have you.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how that all works out. Jenny, what about you? What's your role in the
Well,
apocalypse?
I'm hosting the apocalypse camp because I have a sauna, I have a hot tub, I have,
Perfect.
you know,
Fantastic.
50
That takes care of
50
some
acres of
serious
wood.
logistics.
Yeah, we got to do all it. Like I said, you know, this
Yeah.
is what happens. I think I'm still, my user, when I think about like sort of who my user has always been, it's been somebody who has spent 7 to 10 years maybe in a job, and they really have it down. They know what their job is. They're really good at their job, and they know they can be better at it, but we've never given them the tools to be better at it.
Mm-hmm.
So they had a 40-hour week job that they excel at because they spend 10 unpaid hours on top of that every single week.
Mm-hmm.
And so excellence is, I work longer, and maybe I work harder, and maybe I even answer the phone when it rings at 9 o'clock at night, even though that's ridiculous. Right. So I see people like and they know how they're valued. They know what their value is. A lot of these folks are women. These are executive assistants, in a lot of cases. And being able to help those folks become whatever's next.
Mm-hmm.
Always been important. I mean, whatever's next might be that now they're running the help desk for the IT department, or, maybe they're working in HR now doing something different, or they've decided that their joy is to go be a yoga instructor, and they finally make enough money to get out and do that. Right. But to me, it's in there. It's in trying to help people do that next thing when they've really been told, no, you're kind of tapped out where you are,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are a lot of people who feel stuck, particularly in places where they do a lot of internal promotion. What can I do? Make my boss look good so we get promoted together. Oh, there he went. I'm still here.
Mm-hmm.
Right. This is so many people's stories. And we don't pass along, as you point out, Austin, somebody's twice as productive, or even that person who's working 25% more. We're not paying them 25% more.
Right.
And it doesn't matter that they're qualitatively and quantitatively better than the person that they succeeded. It doesn't matter. They're still going to work for that same wage, probably close to what they hired in for in many places. Even 10 years later, there's not been a substantial change in their lives.
Yeah.
And so at one point they're all, they look, and the kids are grown, they're all in college, and it's like, wow, I really wanted to spend more time with them. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they're my people, and, and sometimes those
Hey,
people.
listen, I love those. They're my people too. I love those people. Like an executive admin, when you meet them, they're just often not treated fairly, but I look at them and go, you know what? If you walked out of here, this place is hosed.
Yep. because
your boss really understand what you're doing over here. So when you were giving your example there of, they're working 10 hours more doing a job like that, I'm thinking, wow, we can teach them how to use Lovable, and then they're managing the company's website, and then they don't have to pay for that service anymore.
By the way, the executive assistant, it's so interesting that we're talking about that role, because the executive assistant is simultaneously exactly the kind of person who will be replaced by AI, because there are all these repeatable, simple tasks. And yet simultaneously, they are that central hub, the critical human skills, the human in the loop that actually makes everything work.
That's right.
Because they have the critical thinking, they have the relationships, they have the empathy. So it's both of those things at the same time. It's a very interesting thing that we're talking about that. I think.
Well, they're the problem solving people. They're the people that you're standing there going, oh my God, who's got so-and-so's phone number? And it's like, here.
Yeah.
I didn't even know you knew them. I don't. My boss does. Do you know, it's like that. It's, and what they bring to that, because they wouldn't have lasted as long in the role. And that's the other thing, that when we talk about organizations that are shedding people, right, is I think at least some of us have had experience of watching people be shed, and we know what's walking out the door with them. And we're sitting there going, well, if I ever need X, Y, and Z again, this organization doesn't have the ability to give it to me right now.
Yeah.
Because they just got rid of the only person who knew X, Y, and Z.
Yes.
True.
Yeah.
Right. So there's pieces of that too. So I do see it as a race. I continue to see it as like helping to provision people so they can either stay where they are or go somewhere else. But it's hard to provision yourself when you're between everything.
Yeah.
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 Mm.
But also in those roles, they've got insight into the company that someone who has not served in that role would never have.
Yep.
And that can be valuable when you mix that with tools like generative AI. You talk about the people who, we deem people knowledge workers, but knowledge workers are knowledge workers, right? So you get this knowledge worker, and we just happen to label them with admin assistant, and we pay them not enough. You empower them with these skills, they have the same increases. They get those increases. And if you foundationally prepare them, they get more increases. They jump right over and and unlock themselves. So I'm
I
empowered
think
by
it's
that.
I think it's possible, and that's why I say that I think job loss will be as big an issue as people leaving. I do really think that. And so, one of the roles here is being supportive of entrepreneurship.
Hmm.
Mhm.
I just think a lot more people will be working for themselves in some capacity.
Yeah.
Because your ability to, if you take this empowerment theme, right? Like, yes, it's still work to get that 80% software to 100%, but there's a lot of work that isn't software. There's still just a lot of problems. There are so many problems in the world that are unsolved or solved poorly, and it just feels infinite, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And I think more people might be doing that on their own because they're not going to get compensated fairly in the structures that we have. I think especially with this big boost in productivity and what's possible for a single person, the
Right.
structures we have are not going to compensate people in the way that if you're like 20% more productive, that's still unfair. But if you're like 300% more productive now, it's just glaringly obvious. It's like it's a big issue. And so I don't know. I think that's going to be a big theme for the next little bit too, is supporting people who want to do that.
One of the things I really liked about the story of Birmingham AI when you were telling it back in November and how it started is that I had kind of imagined when you first started talking that it was a group of folks who were mostly, C-suite or IT folks, but it's not. It's like everybody, right?
Everybody.
It feels like you've built community for a lot of folks who may not necessarily even have community in their own organizations.
I would attest to that to be true as a innocent bystander. Yeah.
Yeah, we just tried to build a big tent, and we just tried to be accessible. I've just always been turned off by gatekeeping, just generally, as like,
Mhm.
and and it can be subtle sometimes too. It's not even intentional. But if you say AI is like an engineering problem, and like who's at this meeting? Well, engineers, and we're going to talk about all this stuff. It's like, like more people like are affected by the internet than just people that build web pages.
Right.
Mhm.
So we were intentional about that, and I think that's different. When I look around the country, other places, people ask us all the time, like, "Is this going on in other places?" And
Yep.
it's not. It's not really. And I just think, I have a sociology degree. I don't have an engineering degree, so
Right.
I spent a lot of time thinking about
Mm.
sort of the arc of the 20th century and like the systems we built to make our economy work and our culture and things like that. And so it's just an interesting that it's like my Venn diagram is like those issues and technology, and that just
Mhm.
happens to be very relevant in this moment. We didn't get to what Bill's role is, and I know
Oh, yes, Bill.
Oh, the
Yes, sir.
apocalypse.
and I
Yes,
know
Bill.
he's got something in mind.
Let's see. So, when I think about it, first of all, similar to what most of you, I think maybe all three of you have said, is definitely to help people. And it's some of what I've been doing all along because, I teach data storytelling, data visualization. It's really on the soft skills end thing. And now stakeholder whispering, stakeholder engagement. It's all about all those things that they say are the unique parts that make us human: empathy, curiosity, communications. And recently, one of the co-founders of Anthropic, said people should be studying the humanities again, right? And Jensen Wong and Satya Nadella have both talked about the importance of empathy and curiosity. So all those human skills are the kinds of things that I've always taught, and I will continue to do, because that's going to be the differentiator between all of us if we all have the technical capabilities that we've been talking about. And I'll just add on top of that, at the very beginning of the conversation, or maybe it's even before we got live, I can't remember, Ginny talked about manual work being using a shovel. I'm like a workhorse. I will also, if it's a truly end of days scenario, I'll be the guy shoveling the snow and all the rest of it. You tell me what to do, I'll do it from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. I'm a hard worker. So, put me on your team, apocalypse people.
I love this. Everyone should be making a pitch to everybody else.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think
Don't
we're really
leave me
on this
behind.
thing.
Bill
I'm
is like,
feeling like I got a little
ask me if you'll
camp now.
travel, right?
Exactly.
Well, I will tell you, if you don't know what your role is, I did see a website yesterday. It kind of went around on a Slack channel I'm on called rentahuman.ai. And so right now, of course, there's like sort of, last mile kind of problems that AI can't solve. So, an AI could contact you to ask you to, move this
I'll
box
dig a
from
ditch.
here to there.
I will dig a ditch.
So
Absolutely.
you should just go on there and make your skills very legible, and
I know I'm not going to remember the name of this village, but there's been a video that's appeared in several places, including on LinkedIn, of these folks in a village whose water has been drying up because there's a data center. and so what they've done is they've set up a website, and it's like, you can ask us questions. Don't ask AI.
I love that. Love that.
It's a great video, and there's a part of it that is like,
good.
there's a kid, and it says, so if you have a question that a 5-year-old can answer, ask Tomas. Tomas goes, I'm 9, and the guy goes, that's not important. It's incredibly cool, but it's a conversation about.
It's like kind of heartbreaking to the.
Yeah.
It is, and it's supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
But it's about humanness. This is what we bring. It's just kind of cool.
I love this. I think we're at time though. We're a little bit. We're almost 2 minutes after time, so I guess we got to close it out here. And I don't want to, because I feel like I've got Bill's going to do all the work. Jenny's hosting the camp, and Austin's leading the retreat. This is the best apocalypse I've ever heard about.
Sounds pretty good.
I'm no longer upset. This sounds abundant to me.
Yeah.
So yes, certainly. Austin, thank you so much for coming in, and we'll probably contact you in 3 to 6 months and ask you how you feel about all the things, because it's
thank y'all.
A moving thing. So thanks
Just
for
a warm, wonderful group of people. I appreciate y'all having me.
Yeah.
Thanks for all the leadership you're showing.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yes, indeed.
For sure.
Thank you.
All right. Till next time. We'll see you the second Tuesday of every month. Appreciate everybody. Bye.
Bye.